I'll have to rock up in a singlet. Holy.
Hey, bro. I just said to Sam, at least you got pants on, bro. You know, you got shorts on.
Do I?
I'm going to replicate that photo soon. Set up with this.
Robbie, you've been killing it with those bloody edits.
Bro. Too much time away.
Pekka sent through some good ones for you to do, bro, with their heads on the lads at the table for the Once We're Warriors when they're sitting at the table.
Oh, yeah.
Heads on it, drinking their beers, bro. That'll be mean.
All right, let's rip in.
Yeah, let's go.
Nick Minute. Coming cruising through the back streets, the most solo athletes, the ones that for the peaks, cause them hadies tryna catch me, snatch me, grab me, they trying to harass me, still all up in the hood, free the boys, through the O3 peaks, the flow's so sick, yeah, still with that.
What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us, and welcome to another episode of The Settler, a rugby show where our panel settle a few scores about some common rugby debates and dive into a few elements of the game. Wykes, over to you first. First episode out of the way. It's always good. Thoughts on it and how do you think it turned out?
Yeah, about 1.5 hours of bloody more D chat. Didn't think it was possible, but we bloody did it. Yeah, some good content going around. And I've said to the boys, for me, like doing this type of stuff, like I said last week, but it's just good to connect with them and stay in touch. Keep it pretty light-hearted, but hopefully learn a few things too. But we'll see how we go, mate. Got me, speaking of international caps, I've got me one and only classic Wallabies international jersey on, mate. So to support the boys for tomorrow. That's me.
Over to you in NZ, Robbie. Looks like it's pretty warm over there. Got the singlet out. The Maoris. So you did represent the Maoris. I know a lot of your experience though playing has been over in Oz. Where does your alliance sit in terms of representation with the Wallabies or All Blacks?
That's a great question, bro. To be honest, I don't know. To be honest, I'm at the moment, I guess because I'm so far, I guess we'll see later down the track when I bloody don't know so many of the boys playing on the teams. So at the moment, go to the games. I love supporting the boys who I know, who I played with, and there's a couple of those on each side, which is pretty cool to see. So yeah, my little fellas love footy jerseys, so they've got them all. So I thought I'd add a little bit of contrast, and we're a bit of a training team. So I know the boys are gonna rock the Wallabies jerseys.
Yeah, nice. I like it. Speaking of Wallabies, Pekka, the only Wallaby amongst the group. So your input for this episode will be good to dive into. What are your thoughts on the first episode?
Yeah, I think like Sam and Robbie have kind of mentioned, like, you know, I think we've got quite a lot of good content out there. Just speaking from experience and what we see. You know, similar with footy, play what's in front. So, you know, just commenting on those aspects that we see and that we've kind of done in the past. So yeah, it was cool.
Nice. So back to you, Wykesy. As I said, each episode we're going to dive in, settle a few scores on certain things. What are we looking at this episode?
For this episode, we're just going to have a look at the Wallabies and just try and have a look at a couple of areas where they think if a chance of beating the ABs, I guess they may need to get this area right because they've shown it in plenty of test matches that they're capable of winning the tests. It's just moments, and we're going to look at some opportunities, dive into it and see if we can get a bit of inside word from Pek 2, who's played obviously for the Wallabies and been in that environment. But yeah, we're just going to have a look at both the 2010 Wallabies and what they sort of did well, and the current Wallabies and what they did well the last test, and to be able to continue that for tomorrow night's game.
Awesome. So let's dive into it. Obviously, before we do though, Pek, you might be able to see this image here at the moment. Just talk us through, I guess, your experience, your debut, your preparation, and what the boys might be up to leading into this Bledisloe III game.
Yeah, look, that's one of those typical pictures of that's what high performance looks like, you know. It's not very still got the muffin tops, and that was at my peak performance. But no, I think you know, leading into a Bledisloe, it's obviously like, you know, for Australians and Kiwis alike, like, you know, Bledisloe is essentially your World Cup. You know, you get to replicate that kind of stage, you know, yearly, you know, with a Bledisloe. And I think the preparations is pretty unique because it's something really, really personal for guys that are involved. And I think for rugby in general in Australia and New Zealand, it's just, it's the be all and end all. I think you'd almost rather win the Bledisloe back than win a World Cup, you know, like it's been that long for Australia, and to be able to be involved in those it was pretty special. It kind of feels like, well, it did kind of go past in a flash, really. But you know, it's a completely different feel to playing your mid-year tests, you know, against your Frances, or, you know, even playing, you know, a Tri-Nations or you know, type test. It's definitely got an aura about it that really, I think, just hones in on everything that you aspire to do as a young footy player wanting to play test footy. Like, you want to be playing in a Bledisloe and you want to be, you know, picking up that cup. You know, that's essentially what it's all about. So, you know, their preparation would be, you know, you have no doubt that they'll be as prepared as best they can be, and irrespective of whether or not they've already got it or lost it. I think, you know, each Bledisloe is a pretty unique experience.
100%. I guess this first clip is just looking at Wallabies build up towards a try and what's going on, possibly getting the ABs on the back foot. Just talk us through the clip and what you think they're achieving here.
Oh, yeah, I'll just go what we're looking at. We're just trying to just see some really good play, build up, and boys, just jump in whenever you need to. But what I liked about sort of this clip was just the options that was going and being able to move the ball quick, that ruck speed, to just deny the All Blacks of line speed in defence. It's just about shifting that point of contact with really good ball carriers as well. Like, our best ball carriers are getting involved nearly in every single play, and that's what you want. So you'll see, like, it's even Tatey having a little dart here, and it's the next person in, just shifting the ball again, getting the ball into our best players' hands, our X factors, to get us on the front foot. And this is what they're capable of. We've got a really good team. I love the way they're playing. I love what Dave Rennie's trying to do here with these young Wallabies, just trying to give them that exposure and having a crack. You know, again, they give the penalty away. Hoops gets in there, shifts the ball straight away. Great vision, having a punt here, and a great finish by Callaway. But yeah, I just think that's, like, for me, that's Wallaby footy. I'll pass it over to the other boys. What do you guys see in that?
Mate, one thing I love is the young back rowers and stuff that are coming through. Those big ball carrying boys. They're at a great age, plugging for the World Cup. You know, like the Bobby Valentinis, blokes like that. All this team, they're building that chemistry. They're putting they're making an impact here. They're going to make a massive impact in a couple of years' time when it comes to the World Cup. I know everyone looks towards that, but they're actually doing a really good job now, and they match up well with, like, Akira Iowanis, your Dalton Papali'i, and your Adi Savea. So I reckon, especially for tomorrow, back row's pretty cool, pretty good watch for me.
Yeah, and just on that, just as kind of jumping last there, I didn't jump in earlier just because I was kind of going to flip it and kind of go and look at the All Blacks. But you can clearly see, I don't know if it's just in this instance, especially early, because that's quite early in the game, that the ABs have obviously spoken about potentially being a little bit more patient in defence and trusting their defence more so than trying to really attack that ball. Like, it's probably a combination of some good carries and good cleans from the Wallabies, but you can see that there's opportunities there for the ABs, and you can clearly see that their big boys especially are kind of keeping themselves on their feet and not necessarily going for that ruck and trusting their defence. And in this case, probably doesn't work out for them for obvious reasons. They get scored on, but they do end up giving away that penalty. But I think it's starting to, that pressure's starting to build. And I think later on in the game, they kind of adjust that mentality. I don't know if that was just because of this particular clip, because the Wallabies were actually attacking quite well, or if that was actually part of their initial thought process leading into this test match.
Yeah, I just saw that point. I guess, we talk about keeping numbers on your feet, not attacking the breakdown. When teams do that, when they've got all their numbers on their feet, it's really hard to, if you have slow ball, to get any type of momentum going forward. So you're right, like it's really important that those, and what Robbie was saying, those big our back rowers get momentum, get good cleans to make it quick ball, just so they're on the back foot, so they can't get that line speed and dominate any of our runners. So you're probably right, bro. If they had to change tact and sort of realise, slow it in, get in there, get the turnovers, because we know turnover footy is where Kiwi teams like to thrive off.
They've gone, obviously, their plan A. They want to play fast footy, get front foot ball. Where's the space against the All Blacks to, I guess, generate that quick front foot ball if the ball is slow?
Well, I'm always a big believer, like Kiwi teams do this particularly well. And, Aaron Smith is probably one of the best at it. I'm a big believer in, especially if it does start to slow down and in terms of your attack, or they are standing off like that, they do it quite smartly. So especially around the rucks, you'll have your Aaron Smiths or your nines kind of push in and communicate that they've got that space. But in actual fact, a pick and go in that area with a number 9 in front of, say, a big prop or a big lock, you're starting to make momentum. And then all of a sudden it takes them out of that defensive line. For example, here, like you actually see it, Aaron Smith's in there kind of later on down on the opposite side of the field, just after they score this try, kind of step in, communicate that he's got that space. And then as soon as someone gets on their feet, he'll either pull out and then someone can fill that gap and then he covers that sweep roll.
So you're talking about Aaron Smith filling in that 10 channel, yeah, the first defender next to the ruck. So halfbacks usually do that to give them a little bit more width in defence rather than having to defend in the boot the whole time for those chip kicks.
Yeah, and it kind of, Robbie's kind of mentioned it last week, with the maul, like if you do get cracked a bit, you're pretty much just putting a Band-Aid on. And essentially that's what they do in those situations, but it actually buys time. And people, especially, you've done it all the time in footy. If you hear a voice, you feel like that opportunity is not there in that space because you hear a voice and you see a body. But I think, if you pay closer attention to it, opportunities are actually there in those moments when they communicate that, like take a look up, see who that number is, and then actually take that opportunity. Okay, I'm going to back myself to, be a little bit more dominant against him or him or him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I reckon, like obviously in D, you can't defend everything all the time. So if you look at the way the All Blacks are defending, they're leaving Callaway out there. If you get that other view, you probably see a kind of Damien McKenzie's actually marking whoever's inside Callaway, and they're just back. They're putting the pressure onto Noah to have to see that space, either throw that bridge ball and have it on the money, or the kick pass. And credit to him, like Noah, he's got the balls. He just pulls trigger on that kick and pulls it off. So I reckon if the All Blacks leave that space there, they know exactly where they're targeting. They're hammering in the middle because that's where the threats are with those big ball carriers. Leave that bloke and then put the pressure on Noah and he pulls it.
Yeah, I think as well, to create that momentum, you'll see probably South African teams do it against them is with their kick space, try and manipulate their back three. So if they're defending with numbers in the line and only leaving 2 back there, they'll probably dominate that space with a bit more kicking and make sure that their set pieces right. So their game ends up being more territorial, rather play without the ball and force them to sort of run from their own half or whatever. So I guess that's one way of creating momentum without the ball. But off the back of that, you got to really have a strong set piece and a strong defensive line, because if you're going to give the All Blacks a lot of ball, they've just got so many threats across where they could just beat you with making something out of nothing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's Wallaby footy to me. That quick ball, the best players touching the ball first or second passes every single time. And you'll see, if we go to the next clip, this is 2010 Wallabies. So I reckon the 2008 to 2010 Wallabies was the best Wallabies team, because I reckon they had the mix of good youth coming through with a lot of old heads as well, like semi-old heads, whatever. But you just see the momentum that they're trying to do, very similar to the other clip. It's Gits getting in there, find it to Quady. And look at the width of the ball, it's just width of the passes. Just trying to get in there and just keep the All Blacks on the back foot with quick recycled footy, just so they can't get any line speed. Again, you see Genya having a little dart there, testing out those 10, 20, 30 channels. Next forward in, like we saw in the other clip, shifting the ball, getting into Gits' hand, Quady's hand. There's just threats. Obviously, Genya's a little bit slow from this ruck because he was at that other side, but he gets it. But again, look at the width of the passes here. 2 passes cutting out a lot of defenders. Great little offloads in there as well. And with that, because of that quick ball coming, they just couldn't get that extra number to come across and cover Lockie Turner. So it's not perfect shape, or you guys probably talk about shape more than me, but it was just about, for me, watching that was just the momentum that they get off the back of good quick ball, and your main players always stepping up, wanting the ball in their hands.
Are those things do you think, Wykes, though, like coachable, or are they personnel? Because there's a big difference between being coached really, really well and just being potentially you look at all those players, your Kurtley Beals, your Will Genyas, Quade Coopers, your Matt Giddos, for example. I think of their, like Nathan Sharp, like those guys. You're probably saying their positions are arguably probably some of the best that have almost played for the Wallabies, and
100%.
in the modern era, especially.
Yeah.
Not taking away anything from your David Campeses and your Michael Reiners and stuff, but you look at the modern game and you're like, is that the difference?
Yeah, well, I think I think it's a bit of both. Obviously, Deansy was the coach there. I know he loved his, Quade giving them the license to play footy. Play what's in front and to back their X factor. Obviously, there would have been structures around it, but I just think as well with the cohesion that they would have had. So you would have seen 9 and 10, Willie Genya and Quady playing a lot of footy together, and that was a bit of a Reds dominance too, that 2010-11 era. And then you've just got someone and when you throw Kurtley in the mix, that's a lot of schoolboy footy, under 19s footy together. And so they know how each other play, and they'll back each other to, just have a crack. And then you throw in the mix of what do you call it, Gits, who's just been there, done it for so long. Bit more of a calm head if it does go to shit maybe or whatever, but just was able to let them play, but maybe take a little bit more pressure off them. But I used to love watching this sort of, and we played in that sort of era too against these boys then at their peak, but just loving the fact that if Gits went in there, it was Quady, first receiver. Quady went in, it was Gits in there, it was Kurtley, or, Rabs was on the wing there, James O'Connor on the wing. He would step in at 10 sometimes. So it was just always bloody the X Factor lads just having a crack with the ball.
What do you reckon, Robbie?
On those points. Yeah, I guess transferring it to now, do you think that's what's probably say missing in terms of that mix of youth and experience in the current Wallabies team? This team here, you had guys that were dominating at a Super Rugby level, and then to look at the team that the Wallabies are rolling out now, the halves that you're starting with, Tatey and Noah, they're playing well, but reality is Aussie Super Rugby teams, we won 2 out of 25 games. You know, so it's hard to translate those games throughout the year, your results into this stage without being able to do it consistently in Super Rugby comp.
It seems like it's a mix of like it's a combination of everything. I see someone asked us a question on the Instagram page. Why isn't the Wallabies like? Why can't they get the consistency right? I guess a lot of it starts away from the game too, like our grassroots level, at Super Rugby level. Like you look at those heads in that 2010, like what's that? Like Gitz and that Sharpie, they're in their 30s there or late 20s, 30s, and they stayed around like because. Like and then you had the middle tier guys like who were there with Swoopy and like, even Rocky Awesome's still there. Like all those old heads were able to like be on-field coaches to those boys who are coming through. And you even look at the bench. There's Barnesy on the bench, Dean Mum's on the bench there. So it was like that top tier, the middle tier, and the guys coming through was a really good blend. Now I just feel like, mate, we got some awesome players, man. We got X-Factor players, but I just think we just don't have those. Maybe those on-field coaches enough, and I guess that's why they brought Quady back into the fray, just so whether he plays or not. But geez, he's got a shitload of experience to be able to pass on.
We look Quade's in this footage, and like this was a few years ago now, but like it's an interesting thought to potentially have someone like Quade step back in. What do you guys reckon on that? Like.
I'd love to see it.
I don't think it would hurt, in my opinion. Like, obviously, they've got their selections, and I'm taking nothing away from what the guys are doing at the moment. They're doing a great job, and it's all about trying to develop. But like at Test footy, you need to develop and learn real quick, because it's it's all or nothing. Test footy, it means everything to win, and it really really hurts to lose because you put a lot of work in, and it's almost above and beyond, what you would normally do. So the preparation is there, and it's all about high performance and winning. So, it's a pretty steep learning curve, and the last thing you want is to get used to not being successful, especially as the Wallabies. Like, although Australian rugby, especially 2010, 11 was doing great. And there's no coincidence that Test footy was obviously good as well. There is a direct correlation with, success at Test footy and success at Super Rugby. Like, that's obvious. But in saying that, like, the quality of players is there now. I guess my only concern would be them being used to not being successful, because, I put the jumper on. I was lucky to kind of be in this Test era of 2009, 10, 11, 14, where Australian rugby was still incredibly competitive and would win tests against the All Blacks. And it was always, the mentality was that it's likely we're going to win. That was always the mentality. And I don't know if it was just that winning mentality from, bigger name players who just refused to lose. Who refuse to just not try something to try and win. That super competitive, but there's a difference between being competitive and just wanting to prove yourself personally, but being competitive and actually doing it cohesively as a team to get a result.
You say that there's no real scarring there, at that time for those boys, because they've tasted it. Even though, like, remember, we haven't won the Bledisloe for a long time, and even this team couldn't do it. But like, there was. The amount of times that they were like, it went to Beesdick away, 100%. But it just, I think it's gonna. Hopefully, I just hope they can keep this crop together. These boys and the Australian rugby does everything they can to keep this young group and keep them playing together for right into that World Cup. Because as I said, bro, playing with some of those boys at the Tars this year, some of those young fellas playing against them. I have a lot of respect for them. I just hope that they just get the right environment around them. I think Wisey and that awesome. Everyone knows Wisey, bro, been around forever. That just helped just mold those minds. And if you can bring someone like a Quady back, even if he doesn't play, but in that environment to help mentor, on-field coach while they're playing, and just say, it's only going to be good, I think, anyway.
Just curious, like you said, the width that they're able to play at, and you see the same exit off their sideline here twice in this phase play. But even just looking at the shape and work off the ball, is it a 1-3-3-1 sort of setup here, or why are they so efficient in moving the ball?
They've definitely got a plan there, like some sort of shape. Like you see those two forwards runners coming off Quade there. That's a lot of space. Like those blokes are, I think it's Doggy and Taff maybe, or someone. They're on the post. Like that's the first two forwards coming off that sideline.
They do the same thing again here.
Yeah, so it's massive passes. Yeah, same thing there. At the time, I guess Kenya's throwing absolute seeds, and same as Quady. And because of that run threat there, like Kenya's holding people at the base of the ruck. Quady's obviously a run threat, and then those boys aren't small boys, so you're having defenders have to check every person that the ball touches, from Kenya to Quady to those boys running, and then swim off and get to the back. So a few things to check.
Lots of threats there, yeah.
I also that, okay, so when you hit the sideline as well, we like defense for them to get line speed is usually if they get a good defense gets a good first phase, they slow it down type of thing, they can get really good line speed. But what I like here with the Wallabies, what they're 9 and 10, what Giz does, it doesn't take too much space away. Like he just gets it and pretty much holds his feet, fires it, so the ball beats the men, like cuts them out. Sometimes 10s, or even when forwards are in that play, they take too much time and space with the ball, take those too many steps, then try and give it. But while you're doing that, the defense is still coming up. And sometimes you can get whacked off that sideline if they do that. So I think it's important. I know Tony Brown, again, you'll hear me speak about him a lot, just because I learned so much from him. He hated if your ruck actually landed right on the sideline, because that didn't force any of the defense to fold, to shorten their line, to be able to go back. So if wingers got it, and felt like they couldn't burn him on the outside, he sort of got him to do like a hard carry beeline back in towards the 5-meter channel, like back at infield, to force at least two players to fold, just to shorten their line there. But if you land right on the sideline, no one has to fold, no one has to do anything. We have to commit all those guys to the ruck, and then they get off the line with line speed, and then they get you behind the gain line. So I think, just when you're playing, I guess from width to width or whatever, you let the ball do the work on that.
So moving on to the next one, what are we seeing here, Wykes? So this is the current Wallabies?
Yeah, I think so. What we talked about at the beginning about the opportunities that are in front of, we know full well, like sometimes the scoreline doesn't indicate the actual true result of how you played. Like there's probably a lapse of missed opportunities within, say, 15, 20 minutes where the game just goes, fuck, how did that get away from us? And you look at the scoreline, it's 21-15, and then they kick off to start the second half and start like on fire here. They get the ball back. They're just back into that pattern, what we've seen in the other clip, shifting the ball, getting good cleans, and quick ball again. Just look at that Tatey, just getting out, just testing that 10, 20, 30 channel. Just seeing these against Swino, like Robbie Valentini, like they just want the ball in their hands, ready to go. And they're getting back on their feet quick. They reload. That's the other thing. I'll get the boys to talk about reloading, what that does to you off the ground there to play footy. But what we'll find is as we keep going, it's not perfect picture at all. Can we speed it up just a fraction, AK? And the boys will just look out for stuff and we'll come back to it. But we'll go to the opportunity here where I feel like press pause there. This is where I feel like some of the opportunities that we miss, and it happened to us when we were playing at the Force. I don't know if you remember, Pek, they used to say we had a pretty good stat of being able to get into the 22, but coming away with points or scoring, like we were down the bottom end of the statistics there. It's like we just didn't play the right option at the right time. We did all the work to create the space, but we just couldn't execute because it was either like myself as well, probably doing those greedy forward ones, trying to do that shit pick and go and going nowhere. And and then that gives that
blowing.
Yeah, and you know, or it's like it's our outside backs or something not talking enough because they all get their heads in, looking in, but not actually looking in front of where the opportunities are. So if we look at this clip here, if we look at the numbers on our feet, if we had like, you know, they gave comms to Matty Tamua there, but all of them are looking in. I'm not too sure. Like they could have been screaming. Like it's hard to tell. But I just think with all their heads looking in, they're not identifying that there's only like Damien McKenzie there by himself.
On Damien McKenzie, you know. Like,
yeah, exactly. And then outside Dave Phillip, that's Callaway again. And then you got Banksy in behind. Like, so even if it just like that's the thing about holding your feet. Like if Pup gets that voice from the outside, he just hold your feet, tip. Our wingers are scoring in the corner. Like I don't think our wingers score enough tries in the corner. Like we see those pick and go tries, as I said, but like that's come after say 10 phases where we could have scored after 4, or the boys could have scored after 4. If we just had more voice from the outside, or were able to just get those strike plays to know that that's what we're going to do. But if we go back, you know, I think off the back of this, they go for the line out because of confidence in, but they stuff up the throw. All Blacks go and score on the other end, like straight away. Like that's how fast it can change. And
with a yellow card, they get a yellow card at that point as well, don't they?
Oh yeah, I think they do, bro. And then
get a yellow card, and they score against you on a set, like you've mentioned already. Like your set piece has to be immaculate. You know,
yeah,
matters. You know, especially in a Bledisloe or Rugby World Cup final or anything like that. Like it needs to be immaculate, and if not, you get punished. And you know, the All Blacks with 14 men punish them, despite you know the number of disadvantage, the fact that they've just had pressure on them in that 22 nearly getting scored against, having to go to that option to potentially get themselves yellow carded, get off the field, allow the Wallabies to reset, create another plan of attack, and still nullify that and create a try. You know, that's like you know, like you'd mentioned, Wykes, like working hard to get inside the 22 and not coming away with the points, and then getting a yellow card, but then them scoring. Like that's hard to come back from. You know, not many teams can. Only the best. You know, you probably back the All Blacks to be able to come back, or a Crusaders or someone like that. But I think with the average age that the Wallabies are at the moment, like you said, those opportunities are there. They needed to be taken, you know, before that yellow card even was given. You know, the yellow card was probably going to be given anyways, but they would have scored a try, get a yellow card. You know,
I remember asking you what's the difference between Test footy, like when you first played it, and Super, and I remember you told me, oh, bro, like you just get punished for your mistakes. So if you look at it like that, like say in Super Footy, Super Rugby, the yellow card, like it's the team with more numbers may dominate for that whole time. You know what I mean? Then you go, say if you went down to club footy, or remember you actually tell me if you missed a tackle, it usually resulted into a try straight away, like in that area, because you just got punished. But if you missed a tackle, or say Super or club footy, someone might cover you and you'll be able to recover from that. But is that still the case, you reckon, bro? Like you don't get time to recover from those mistakes at Test footy. So like with that overthrow, you just get punished straight away. So that's why it can turn quick.
I think so. Like we were kind of speaking about this earlier, Robbie, as well, with, you know, the opportunities there on that, you know, the Wallabies kick that ball off. The All Blacks haven't been able to get set. Like their mentality is, we receive this ball, we're exiting, you know, or we're playing our 1 or 2 phases and exiting. And then all of a sudden it gets flipped on them, and you actually see the Wallabies create a bit of momentum and a couple of little half line breaks here and there in the first kind of 3 to 4 phases before the All Blacks are able to get set up. And then once they do get set up,
yeah, true.
You know, it's hard to break that, you know, and eventually they look like they're getting close. They miss that opportunity, like we've just kind of spotted. And then the All Blacks are like, all right, we need to go for this. They almost are prepared to, you know, sacrifice 10 minutes in order to not give away that try. And then it kind of, by luck, by chance, who knows, they score on the other end. I don't know if I answered your question there, Sam.
No, you did, bro. Like, it is about, like, you just get punished. And, like, when you think about the All Blacks with their mentality and the way they've won, and won on a regular basis and come down from any type of adversity, like, they're almost like they've got the advantage back with them. Like, they galvanise together, even though, we've got a man down now. We know what we're about. We're not giving this trophy up. Like, it's if they want it, they're gonna have to earn it this way. Like, they're gonna have to earn it. So, I just always found that about. I find Kiwi teams relentless with their mindset when it comes to when their chips are down or their backs against the wall. They just find a way.
What's your experience there, Robbie? Because you've obviously played in New Zealand more, won an ITM Cup, Auckland. Like, what's that mentality like in those situations there? Just naturally, without teams don't talk about it, but what is it?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually think in comparison to between Aussie teams and Kiwi teams, it's actually spoken about quite a bit in New Zealand about that mindset. So you probably hear teams, you hear blokes in Wellington say all the time, like, stay in the blue. Always use the stay in the blue, like the mentality to keep a cool head and then be able to pull trigger. So that whole mentality from training and all of that, and that's built from a young age. Like, these blokes have heard that phrase from the last 10, 15 years or however long New Zealand rugby's been using it, and they've played all their age group stuff with that same mentality. So that when the opportunities come, they're able to just pull trigger on whatever opportunities they see. So that's what I found is a kind of mentality. But I think in Aussie rugby, at Super Rugby level, I don't think that's spoken about. That mentality spoken about very much.
Yeah. That's actually a valid point, bro. Because actually thinking about that now, like, even the Wellington Lions, they do simple things like, before captain's run, get into a little pod group. You have your little pod groups, and they might mention a particular scenario, and coming into captain's run, those pods will actually discuss that scenario depending on their position. So, you might have a 10, a 9, and a lock together, and they might speak about what the 10's going to say, or what the 9's thinking, what the forwards will do in that scenario, and they'll give you one or two, and sometimes that conversation is based around less numbers or injury or something like that. It's
true.
That doesn't spring up as a surprise because it's like, holy shit, we actually
already
So the players are like having those conversations, whereas I feel like in maybe Aussie foot, it's the coaches have those conversations. I don't know, but I've never really been involved in any of those. What do we do if the yellow card, or what do we do when our chips are down? Like, maybe I've been like in some leadership groups and that, but obviously I'm not a 9 or 10. But like you said, a lock's even involved. Like that's cool that everyone knows.
Absolutely, and I think that's just a slightly different level of thinking and keeping guys, because naturally on a captain's run day, you're going to do stuff all, you do stuff all, you roll into captain's run, you get through the captain's run, feel good, get into the game the next day, as opposed to catching up with other guys before the captain's run, spitting a yarn, connecting with other guys. It's not always the same group, it might be a different 3, it might be a different group of 4. You meet somewhere, you have a chat, you discuss something specific to the game and your specific role. Maybe within that, there might be a scenario where you're like, bro, this has nothing really to do with me. I will just support whatever, they say, or this happens or whatever. But it's just a good way to we're not going to work physically. We know that. So let's throw a spanner in the works and just see what happens, see what the boys come up with in this scenario or this scenario. And I think
that's cool, bro. Never heard of that. That's really good.
That is cool as well, Robbie, what you mentioned about the blue head, I guess, All Blacks, or just through the juniors, New Zealand rugby, understanding performance under pressure and working on that mindset side of things. You've obviously been in a few systems. Do you think Aussie systems and players would respond to that kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, I reckon boys will respond pretty well to it. I mean, it is probably a different mentality though, in terms of like, it's probably different to how some coaches want to go about it, probably, and some team cultures like, and that's probably coming from teams that have been successful, that have just been Aussie teams that have just been really tough, like real tough players. It's not really worried about staying in the blue, encourage aggression and challenging each other and all that sort of stuff. I reckon it's probably the Aussie way too, is just to like a very much a fighter mentality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is all good, and it gets everyone pretty far. But I just think that the system in New Zealand it's everyone's on the same page with all that stuff. It's not like, oh, this is the mentality of this province, this is the mentality of this province, that sort of vibe, which you kind of get in Australia. Everyone's kind of pushing in the same direction. That's what I found in New Zealand. Everyone's pushing in the same direction, all to make this team that we're watching now be successful.
Would you say, Robbie, it's like a cooler, calmer approach, almost like a have confidence within the individuals more so than we need to coach it into them, or like like I've only just recently got here, but it's kind of like there's a sense around the players and the team that they, and it's not a cocky way, but it's like they know they have the ability, they know they have the system, they know that they're going to score points, but like you've said, they've still got to take, like we've mentioned, they've got to take the opportunities. They've got to create those opportunities. They've got to see them. Like they've got to do all those same things. But I don't know. There's almost like without knowing, they know. Like they know that they're going to score. It's just don't
100%
score like that.
Like I remember when the first time I played for Auckland, I had a chat to Michael Fatialofa, and he was saying, and I guess he was at the Canes at the time, and they had won it, I think, a couple years before. He was previously at Southland, and they had struggled, I guess, those times. And I actually think they did pretty well, considering they won the Ramford Shield and all sorts. Bro, but he was telling me as soon as I got there, he was saying, bro, you'd be surprised. You enjoy being the favourite every week, like playing for a team in big teams, like playing for Auckland, playing for Wellington. He's like, bro, he was telling me it's so much less stressful to play for a team who's the favourite every week. And I was thinking, bro, that must be you guys every week. And he's saying, yeah, it is every week, like super. And he reckons you can carry yourself with a lot less pressure that I'm going to get every single thing right, doubt my prep, or all that sort of stuff when you're the favourite every single week.
Right, absolutely. Like
Only ever happened to me once at Panasonic in Japan. That was it.
Yeah, bro.
Every time.
It's exactly the same thing, bro. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Bro, it's
just
that
played.
Yeah. Like walking out, like just a bit more, there's a bit more substance about me, there's a bit more substance about what we're doing. There's a bit more ability. There's a bit more confidence, like, and you have that, and that's just an ITM, and then you got the super teams, and those guys come in with even more, and then they get put together, and you put a black jumper on them, and all of a sudden they're bloody superheroes. You know what I mean? But like Robbie said, it's kind of stemming way earlier. It's just I think it's just a cultural thing with their rugby and how they go about it, how they implement things. It's a little bit different. And for me, I don't know about for you, Robbie, but it's just that little bit more, just a bit more, like it's intense, but without feeling like you're sitting in a classroom. It's intense without worrying about making mistakes.
That's cool. I think that's actually something cool we can explore, dive deeper into. Even that sweeping the sheds mentality and that kind of stuff, I think plays its role. But on this next clip, Wykesy, what are we seeing here? I like it. Bit of surprise tactic here.
I think you've got to think outside the box again against the All Blacks. Like you've got to have some type of surprise element to disrupt their flow. It's like probably as Pek talked about before, like preparing for scenarios. It's like, it seems like every time something comes up, they're prepared for a scenario and they know what you're going to do, but they probably wouldn't have thought the Wallabies would have come up with something like this. But what I will say is that, like, 100% do that. I just think when you get that momentum on the sideline, that you got to go again with your best players, go back the other way. Like, I just think once they get there, like, that's good meters, bro. They could have, like, kicked it up there, gone into their set piece, but, like, this is all planned. I'm a big fan of acting out there. I did it for 14 years, but anyway.
Crossing the borders and gain line this point.
Yeah, mate, I've heard it all from the punters out there, so I'm glad I'm retired now. Leave me alone. But anyway, I love the fact that they did something. They would have worked on this, looked disinterested, looked like go through your routine, but tap and go. Okay, now they got that momentum on over to the sideline, hold their feet. Look, he comes out of that line, but he just gives. You know what I mean? Like, because they want to defend high, give again. Once their shoulders turn, they give, and the play, obviously they've got good coverage. But it's hard to get line speed again. Once if you get quick ball off the sideline, it's very hard to get line speed again. Like, even watch when Swino gets it, they haven't really taken a step. You know, so he's dictated the terms. So I just think if their backs are ready to get, it's hard to push out another view just to see what type of space was out there. But for me, like, I wouldn't have even I would have just loved to see the ball get straight back into, so if we go back, I would have loved for it to get straight back into Lolosia's hands. Yeah. And then if Pup was in behind that group of forwards, I would have loved to just, like what we saw with Gitz to Quade,
Yeah,
that other
it looks
thing.
like same picture.
Similar type of picture, just thread the needle through there to Pup ready to go, and then skin him down the other sideline. To see what happens, because, like, once, like, Swino, he's a hard man to stop. Love him for it, but when you go flat at the line like that, you can only go one way. Like, and you got to make sure you catch that ball, because they're matching you at the same time to hit that. What do you reckon, boys? Would you go that, or you reckon, you're happy for him to play up Swino? Then if he catches it, you just roll.
Oh, I'd say because that's quite a big brick wall there. Like, they get aligned pretty well. The All Blacks do. So the boys are there, and they're big boys. All those boys they're that's a brick wall there. So at best, it's going to be a settler of a carry. Sometimes you got to know when to settle it and when to send it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'd say in that scenario, if they could have it again, they probably would play out the back. But to be honest, I love the intent from Swino, because you know that you're going to get that
100%.
Carry.
100%.
Playing and training with the man, you just know that you know that you're getting that 100% effort every single time. So,
but I love that bloke. Love how he goes, bro. You build a club off the back of that bloke. You know what I mean? Just with who he is as a person. But Pek, do you reckon that, say, like what we talked about before? Do you reckon that's the same picture we're seeing about, like, heads in? Like, can we work harder off the ball there?
Yeah,
like, to see opportunities in front.
You kind of mentioned it, like the Wallabies in that 2010 or in those earlier previous clips. Like, Swino would have been your Rocky Alsam, who actually probably would have been the next pass behind. Like you said, Lolosio would have went to him. He probably would have popped it off to Pup. Pup would have thread the needle with someone like Swino running through. And I'm just going to flip it again and go to the All Blacks. Like you kind of spoke about it with Tony Brown. They've gone a bit wide. The All Blacks have only put one guy in. Naturally, in defence, especially in a moment where you've kind of been caught flat-footed and they've kind of done something you haven't been aware for, we've kind of covered the two things already, where you've got to take the opportunity because they're not in position where they want to be. Like, they've kind of got, look at where they've got prop and a flanker kind of the next pass out. So if Lolosio gets that ball, he can kind of look at two.
Yeah, true. That's the
footwork here. And then all of a sudden, Ardie Savea is going, holy shit, if he goes, I've got to cover these guys.
Yeah, true.
The other thing is with Swino running that line, if I'm thinking I'm in defence, I've been caught off guard, naturally you try not to do it, but you run towards the ruck, naturally, right? When you pull your head up and someone comes straight at you, you go, oh, happy days. I don't have to move.
Yeah.
That is the best. Even if they hit him hard here, he loses the ball. Worst case scenario, he's running into two guys. even if you don't make the best tackle, you're going to make your tackle, because you quite put it there. And there's no difference there. Like Swinno goes in, there's probably 4 guys within that one pass radius. So there's kind of two areas there with not having to work. So it's like an easier tackle. The second one is, if you actually look at that second option, Swinno maybe being a little bit wider.
Yeah.
Different picture.
I mean, even at width defensively, you look at the All Blacks in the middle of the field, they're all just running towards that middle anyway as well. So you skip here and hit this next pod, maybe there's more space there, like you guys have been saying.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see the other angle, just to sort of see that, but it's like when I guess what Pek was talking about, when the element of surprise there probably would have been a little bit narrower in that space, like, for the kick. But once it's gone the other side, they've gone, shit, we go back. Like usually when on a line break, you got to work straight back so you can, like you don't go in like that the accordion thing, like you go small to go wide, like type of thing in defense. So yeah, you try here. So you probably see them start working straight back to be able to get some type of line across the field there. But I think as Pekka said, bro, if Lolasia gets that in his hands, bro, you're putting some pressure on those 2 props. I'm not saying props are poor defenders at all. They're some of the best, but it just if he's got numbers around him there, like just to be able to use his feet, get a hands free, if he wanted to take them on, and if it gets Ardie Savea to turn his shoulders, then there's so many Wallaby like numbers out there that could play. So just to go back to the opportunities, like they're painting the opportunities. The lads, they're painting the pitches. I just think it's just a bit more time with those senior guys or the main players just wanting the ball in their hands every single time.
Robbie, if you're one of those front rowers that's kind of in that spot there, and they do go out the back, like I don't think you can rush anyways. You know what I mean? Like you can't rush off the line there, because the first 2 have kind of had to commit to that, even if Lockie Swinton is there and they play out through the back, like as that.
Yeah,
there's 3 and 1, but that could potentially be you as well. Like I don't know about you, but I'd be thinking, if that goes to him, I can't actually rush up because all those guys haven't been able to move from the ruck. That 1,
100%,
20-30 or ABC or however they want to call it. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you?
As a type 5 too, bro, I hate it. Like trying to rush it back with feet. Oh my goodness.
Like, you always can. You try your best.
Oh, you try your best. Don't get me wrong, but how many times you just get bloody? Oh, see ya,
get it, bro, and you just hope to pass it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, please pass it. Yeah.
Like, what do you reckon, Robbie? Like, you look at that picture. Can they rush if it goes out the back?
Yeah, that's the thing, because you got to check all those carriers as well, and that's where I think the Wallabies got to play to their strength, is that because of those boys are attracting. Like Swinno's running that hard line, he's shortening up that line just from the line that he runs. Same as Matty Phillip, he's a big body, so you got to mark him. So if they can get that next threat out the back, and then you're questioning these big boys here, those front rowers. Then they got to swim off and try and get to the 10. That's a big job. So really, they've just taken it's the easiest option. Those big boys are cheering because they're thinking, yeah, sweet, come straight into me, make the tackle, the ball gets turned over. The boys, All Blacks swing it wide, run 70 meters for the try.
So we'll go on to the next one, okay? So I think this is where I guess why I guess that they probably should swing it back wide after break. I know Doggy's here has first phase there, but it's the same thing. They make that line break down the edge with Lockie Turner, and it's the same. Since that's Willie Genya there, it's like sending Sharpie through just to hold someone straight back into Quady's hands, and then play the forward pod through there because, as you said, Dave, Robbie, you know we talk about you still try and get off the line. But you're marking all those bodies, like as you've gone backwards into D, and then the ball's already gone. You're turning and going. You're fucking seeing jumpers in front of you. You go, who have I got? He's chosen the right bloke. They've got another line break, and then obviously they get the penalty from it. But if you just go back again, what I talked about before, it was again, it's just the the main ball players bloody getting the ball those first phases, within 3 phases. Just that old school scrums too.
Mate, I was just looking at an awe at that scrum. I'm surprised that both front rows stood up after that. Big Celeste Mafu, mate, big bopper.
That's so it goes getting you straight to bloody Quady. You know, he fires, he chooses the right option. Within the pass again, they're marking bodies. Was able to like get through, you know, that's big chiz. The human bicep, mate, biggest biceps. And then, you know, then it goes, who does it go to again? Goes to Kirtley. You know, like it's just
gets on the outside.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just it was just always like, man, that's why I love that sort of, I was like really love that sort of era of Wallaby footy. And I reckon these boys have that same potential too, to be able to do that. It's just time together. And hopefully, as you said before, Pek, not getting scarred like too many losses, because fuck, it'd be hard, like it'd be tough, man.
Level, bro. It's all or nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Fuck, everyone hurts. Every one of them. Every loss hurts, irrespective of you're a professional footy player or playing club footy, and it means a lot to you. Then every loss hurts, and the gold jumper, you know, you remember them. You know, you don't forget them. You remember them just as much as the wins. So, you ideally, you know, they're not coping too many losses, so they just start having that winning mentality.
Yeah.
Were you wanting to go to the next point, Wykes?
Yeah, I just think part of the theme of the opportunities, taking opportunities, goal kicking's a huge one. You know, like, you know, there's a lot of pressure on goal kickers to, you know, like sometimes you could lose a game by 1 point, but your goal kicker bloody misses 3, you know, and you can go through the tape and look at it where we could have gone wrong and stuff, but it's like there's no perfect game. It's just, if he kicks those kicks, you know, we win that. And then we're not having the crisis meeting on the Monday, but it's a tough one. But like, fuck, how hard would it be to be a goal kicker? Bloody hell.
AK, you're probably the most we'll discuss topic.
Mate, there'll be
I don't know. Growing up with Wykesy, obviously John Eales was the second rower that we were watching growing up, and he was out the front of down at Layla Park Oval there, bloody practicing his goal kicking. He actually went all right growing up, but don't know what happened. Just stopped practicing, Wykesy.
Oh, mate,
remember you were the goal kicker for the Blacktown Scorpions?
Oh no, mate, I actually went all right at goal kicking, bro. I was up until under 14s.
Were you a fullback?
Yeah, played everywhere, bro.
You know,
what an idiot! What an idiot! That's the selector. Bloody hell! What an idiot! But look, I idolised John Eales, bro. I remember when he did our jersey presentation for 2000 and what was that? Pick up 15. Yeah, in Sydney. Yeah, we beat the Tars. You know, they won it in 2014, and he came and did our jersey presentation. And I was able to skipper that game because Hodjo got injured. And man, I was like sweating bullets. You know, like because I went and shook his hands. They were big mitts too, the fella.
Yeah.
So the rumours are true about him. But anyway, I was just like, he just gave this speech, bro, of you know, just what it was to play against the Tars and stuff. You know, who knows for Queensland, but just that rivalry and just, man, he was such a good comedian, softly spoken, but like he just had an aura about him, big unit. And yeah, mate, we won that game, and I was, you know, that was the first time the Force ever won the first game of the season. And then I was proud I was skipper. Then we lost the next bloody 10 in a row. It's so, but anyway, fucking that's a different story. But yeah, I'll just go back to this. I think goal kicking's huge, bro. Like it's part of the game. If you do build scoreboard pressure early on with some penalty kicks, it just gives you that little bit of breathing room. And you see England and South Africa and those teams, they do it so well. Like they're never, ever really out of the hunt, because even if they didn't play the most attractive brand of footy, they're in it right to death. Like the scoreboard's just sort of like they can see the scoreboard and look up, well, we're only bloody 2 penalties behind or whatever, even though they've scored bloody 2 tries and we haven't. Like it just, and you know, Hodgie had the chance to win the game. I think it was last year in Wellington. obviously hits the upright a couple of times, but he does it here in Brizzy. Was that Brizzy? Yeah, in Brizzy. To do it, they're the opportunities where it's like if they can just like be able to build scoreboard pressure through having like, I don't know, 80-85% goal kicking, it puts all those opportunities together to build momentum through the game to win that game. Like it's like have it like painting the picture, taking those options, on the edges for wingers to score, having the penalty goals, taking them, you're scoring, so like we've got to get all those things right. I think to be able to win the game, we can't fall off in any of those areas, because I think that'll be the area that they look in review and go, we were short because of that bit.
Yeah, probably leads well into the final settler, actually. So I guess we've gone through a few things there, opportunities, key players getting the ball in hand, how they're playing off that sideline. So just over to you, boys, just for one final settler, what do the Wallabies need to do tomorrow, do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to say this, just the same things that we've been saying. Like, I think they're painting good pictures. You just got to keep pulling the trigger. Like, I've loved what I've seen from those boys in terms of like Noah putting those kicks across. They're taking quick taps at times when they're painting the picture that they're going to go to the maul again. All those sorts of things. Just got to keep doing it. Just keep pulling the trigger on all those opportunities that they're painting, and eventually they're going to come right. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but eventually, if they keep doing it, they've got the support behind them. I think they'll go a long way.
Nice. Wykes, I know something you've been mentioning a fair bit was getting the ball in key players' hands. Who do you think that is for the game tomorrow?
Mate, I've loved that they've included Krevy in the starting lineup. I just think having him back in and just like that big body, like I guess when the All Blacks sort of do their like analysis or look, that they're going to see that's a genuine like that X factor threat. That I'm not saying the other boys haven't been, but he's just got a presence from previous I guess times they've played. So that sort of aura or whatever that he has, that presence he has. I just think, if he can get them going forward with good first phase carries and get some good momentum, I reckon the boys will feed off the back of that.
And Pek, just to finish us off, mate, what are you hoping the boys can achieve tomorrow?
I think we've kind of covered it. I think it's taking those opportunities, like identifying when those opportunities are on, knowing, when you've got them on the back foot, and then, like Robbie's kind of said, like throw the shots. You're only going to miss as many as you throw. If you only had 7 opportunities, far out, try and make it 10. If you miss 7 out of 7, but you throw 10, then all of a sudden you hit 1 or 2 of those. Then that confidence starts to come, and then that winning mentality starts to come that we've spoken about, and then that the kind of effect of winning and losing. You start getting more wins, and then that culture starts coming in with that winning mentality, and then all of a sudden, you're starting to feel like this is how we win, not how do we not lose. You know what I mean? Like I think, that's probably a big thing. Mentality in sport and winning. Versus reviewing a loss or things like that.
Nice. Good way to finish off. And thanks for your time, boys. Thanks for the insight. And to everyone else, leave a comment. If there's parts of this that you enjoyed from this episode, please let us know. We're always wanting to get better and improve. And make sure you follow us on our socials. Head over to The Settler. Follow along and have a good laugh as well. There's a fair bit of chat going on from the boys, so hope you enjoy that as well. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, lads.
Got me cruising through the back streets, the most unknown athletes, the ones that for the peaks, 'cause